Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Episode 2 of the Football Fate and How to Change It podcast. My name is Tim, joined once again by Mr. Warren Dennis Froggatt. How are you doing, my good friend?
I'm doing really good today. I'm in equal parts surprised and delighted that we've made it to episode 2.
I'm over the moon that we're here. I did not expect us to be here, but we're here, which is a plus, really. Anything above episode 1 was a bonus. So
yeah, absolutely.
Here we are.
And we're even doing quite a topical scenario for today. Going to get straight in and explain why it's so topical, because as things stand right now, the second half of the North London derby has just kicked off. Currently, Spurs 2-0 up in that one. But we're not really focusing on this Spurs game. We're focusing on the 2005-06 season, the infamous Lasagne gate, where Tottenham, going into the last day of the season, were 2 points above Arsenal. Tottenham were in 4th place, Arsenal were in 5th place. All Tottenham needed was to better Arsenal's result on the last day, and it would be quite a historic moment for them, finishing in 4th above Arsenal for the first time.
They didn't do it, though, did they?
They didn't do it, Tim. A certain West Ham United spoiled that, but Spurs don't blame West Ham United. Spurs blame the lasagna that they were served prior to the match, which allegedly gave all of the Spurs players terrible stomach problems.
I'd like to add straight away there, you've said a crucial word, allegedly. Allegedly. It was just those pesky Claret and Blue lot from East London. That was the real problem. You might be able to tell already, in what is probably less than a minute in, this scenario holds a special place in my heart. So it's really tough to rewrite this. But, you know, who cares? It happened in real life. But what if Tottenham were served salad? That's what we're asking, essentially, isn't it?
That is what we're asking. We're essentially going to look into if Spurs did not have that lasagna excuse to fall back on. Maybe they did actually have illness. Maybe it wasn't anything to do with that. But we're going to look and see what happened, what would have happened if Spurs were served salad on that fateful afternoon. Before we get started, I believe you've got something that you want to say before we pick who goes first.
I actually do, which I forgot to say in the first episode, so sorry. But he's going to forgive me because he's my brother. Big shout out to my brother, Matt. He does the intro and the outro music. He does video editing, and he essentially taught me and Warren how to edit a video because we'd never done that before. Doesn't know the first thing about football, so he's probably not watching right now. But I'd like to thank him because he's a top bloke. And with that, I'm going to hand back to you, mate, because you're potentially going to go first in what, we're already breaking a tradition in episode 2.
Well, yeah, we're all about, being visionary and
keeping the audience guessing. What makes a good podcast is keeping the audience guessing.
Being flagrant with rules that we came up with.
We want to put a line in the sand early that we will not stick to any rules that we create.
Well, what we announced in the first episode was that we would always decide who goes first with their tall tale by virtue of whose ever team scores last or the most recent goal scored for whose ever team. But in this very Super Sunday where Arsenal and Tottenham are playing, the game before this one was Leicester versus Sheffield United, where Sheffield Wednesday, born and bred prodigal son Jamie Vardy scored a last-minute goal against Sheffield United, condemning them to another defeat, forcing them to buy a new corner flag in the process. So I'm putting my stamp on this one. I'm going to go first because that moment caused me so much joy that I think it's only right.
Do it. This is going to look really bad if Sheffield United stay up. But, we've still had the joy of this afternoon, so I'm going to let you go.
Yeah. Listen, the Premier League will look really bad if Sheffield United stay up, but
it looks
that's
pretty
for another
bad
day.
Anyway, to be fair.
Yeah, that it does. Tottenham top of the league. You're not happy
Tottenham
about
at the top of it, and they're going to win it as well, which is going to probably force me into podcast retirement. But,
listen, we're on episode 2. Let's try and make it to episode 3. I'm going to go first, and my tall tale about what would have happened if Tottenham had been served salad rather than lasagna. It's all about power struggles across all of London and not just in the North London. It's about big trophies and terrible managers. It's about iconic footballing photographs being taken, transfer wheeling and dealing, and a big party in Ecuador. But we're going to start things off in Ecuador. We're going to start.
Brilliant.
We're going to start things.
We've all been to one.
We've all been to Ecuador. We're going to start things off on that fateful day. Assuming that Tottenham were served salad and they did not have any sort of dicky tummy leading up to the game against West Ham. They play West Ham on the last day. Given that Tottenham did not allegedly have any health concerns going into this match. They do beat West Ham on the final day. They don't just beat them. You'll be very sad to hear this, Tim. They beat them 5-0. They know that it's a chance.
I feel like that's a bit overzealous, but continue.
Well, listen, Tottenham know that it's a chance to get one over Arsenal. They know that it's a chance to finish in 4th place. They've got a squad, not really of Champions League players, so it's something to really work for all of them. And they take their chance emphatically. It's a big win. It's a Robbie Keane hat-trick. You won't be surprised to hear that both Defoe and Michael Carrick get on the score sheet. And puts them onto 68 points. Doesn't matter what Arsenal did, because Tottenham won. And Spurs finished in the Champions League. Arsenal finished in the UEFA Cup. It's the first time that Spurs have finished above Arsenal since 1995. In real life, if you're wondering, this wouldn't happen again for another sort of 10 years until the 2016-17 season. So it's quite a big moment in Premier League football. I do want to mention the FA Cup final of 2006, a match that I know that you, or I believe you attended.
I did.
West Ham played Liverpool days afterwards, straight after this game when they got beat 5-0 by Spurs. Obviously, in real life, it was the Gerrard final when he absolutely twatted one in from about 30
Go and watch
yards.
episode 1, by the way.
Go and watch episode 1 if you're interested.
That centres around Gerrard.
Certainly does.
Where hopefully, I'd love to say that we kind of brought him some demise, but we didn't. So
we ultimately, we didn't. But maybe I will right here. Maybe not. You're about to find out now. In real life, it's the Gerrard final. But things have changed quite a lot because of this Spurs hammering of West Ham. Pardew, who was your manager at the time, which I always forget he managed you, Alan Pardew was humbled by that 5-0 loss. He realised that West Ham have just been outplayed by a top 4 team. He's about to play another top 4 team. Liverpool finished 3rd. And he doesn't want to get beat again. He realises that he can't make it a completely open game, which is what he seemed to do in real life, being the sort of smarmy, arrogant wanker that he is. He played 4-4-2 in that final. And to be fair, it nearly paid off for you, but it didn't. But here's what he did in this tall tale. First of all, he has a little thing. He decides that he wants to do a bit of a defensive job on Liverpool. He doesn't want any sort of 2-2 score lines. He wants to play 4-5-1. And he does. He's got a couple of injuries and suspensions. Hayden Mullins is suspended, which is who we'd want to sort of go in as a DM position. He didn't have a lot of other sort of midfielders to choose from, and he couldn't coach defence, so he's not going to play back 5. So it left him to select a 19-year-old by the name of Mark Noble to play in midfield for only his sort of 7th or 8th appearance for West Ham.
My hero.
But that's how you lined up on that final day. It was Hislop and goal, a back 4 of Christian Daly, Anton Ferdinand, Danny Gabidon, and Paul Konchesky. Flat midfield 5 of Scaloni, pushed up to right mid. Fletcher, Rio Coca Noble, and Yossi Benayoun with Big Marlon Harewood up front. He had a couple of injury concerns.
Me all kinds of flashbacks.
I think he had
a happier time.
I think he had Etherington out and Ashton out in real life, or they were injury concerns. And anyway, in this universe,
they were concerns, but I think they both. But Ashton definitely played because he scored the 2nd goal.
Well,
and I think Etherington had the shot for it. I think they were both concerns, but they both played.
Well, it's funny you say that. So, in the FA Cup final in this tall tale, it becomes quite a muddy affair. West Ham still go 1-0 up. Scaloni sticks a cross in that Carragher boots into his own net. So they go 1-0 up through the same means. But the second goal doesn't happen because you're quite rightly saying Etherington doesn't have the shot for Ashton to put in the rebound.
Yeah.
So if the half finishes 1-0 to West Ham, second half, Paul Konchesky doesn't score because West Ham are playing far too deep. West Ham are just looking to sort of see the next 45 minutes of football out. So it's still 1-0. But in the 90th minute, the ball does come to Steven Gerrard, who's 30 yards out. But he doesn't shoot. He takes the ball down and he tries to work something. I don't know if you know this, but I'm sure you've tried to avoid seeing this goal. But the only reason that he ever actually took the shot on was because, in his own words, he said he was basically blown out of his arse so much that he couldn't think of anything else to do but hit it as hard as he could. Given that West Ham had basically been camped in their own box, the Liverpool players didn't have as strenuous of a game to play. Gerrard still had gas in the tank, and he didn't take on what was a pretty improbable shot in the first place.
A ridiculous reason to have a shot for that. Genuinely lunacy.
Well, it seemed to me to be like a 1 in 1,000 chance of it happening, and we're focusing on a scenario where it was one of the other 999 times. Because Gerrard doesn't shoot. He passes the ball off, but the ball doesn't end up going anywhere significant. And West Ham do cling on for that 1-0 win. So you win your, I believe, fourth FA Cup off the back of a 5-0 loss to Tottenham. So I'm sure you take that.
My Moretti bottle to impersonate the FA Cup.
The Cockneys are dancing on the streets of Cardiff. It's absolute pandemonium, really. If you're wondering about man of the match, simply for his energy and his ball retention and his match high number of tackles, and considering he was only 19 at the time, man of the match actually goes to a young Mark Noble, and that doesn't have much.
Make me cry.
That doesn't have much bearing on this universe. The only thing it really does change is that because he burst onto the scene, if you will, Mark Noble does he does earn a solitary England cap for his troubles.
Yes, I'm happier about that than the FA Cup. Genuinely,
which
it's so deserved.
It is deserved. It came in 2007, being brought on in a 5-0 friendly victory over Moldova, which he did not score in, but he did get his England cap. Anyway,
that's fine.
We're going back to Tottenham, and basically the upshot of all this is that they're watching the FA Cup final knowing that they finished in the Champions League spot. They're in fourth place. Given that Spurs had the Champions League, they have additional money, they have additional pull, it leads to a pretty tasty, impressive transfer window's worth of business for Tottenham. First of all, Michael Carrick does leave that team. He does still go at Man United for 16 mil. And Dimitar Berbatov, Didier Zakora, and Mido all arrive through the doors just as they did in real life. But there's some pretty handy extra additions that Tottenham make. The defence gets beefed up. Julian Lescott gets brought in out of Everton, and Brazilian right-back Maicon gets brought out of Monaco, each for about 6 million.
That's one knock-on effect that I can see being never happening. I'm sure that gets touched on.
So Maicon is playing for Spurs. Didier Zakora gets brought into the midfield, as I said, and apparently Martin Jol goes a little bit Ivorian midfielder crazy, and he signs a young Yaya Toure out of Olympiacos. And last but very much not least, French League wonder kid. Don't know if you remember this name. Was certainly a favourite on Football Manager and Championship Manager. Maybe not Championship Manager, Football Manager. Yoann Gourcuff gets snapped up from Rennes. I
signed him for, I want to say Newcastle, and he tore the league apart in FM 08.
I'm surprised he didn't go to Newcastle in real life when they brought all them French players under Pardew. He might have done,
did he?
I don't think he did.
They signed after French league at that point. I wouldn't.
You're thinking of Yoann Gouffran.
It was Gouffran, wasn't it? Yeah.
Anyway,
Gourcuffs and Gouffrans mixed up, as so many people do.
So they spent about 45 million total, which isn't bad money back in 2006 for a couple of good signings. And the starting 11 looks like this, just a little bit of colour. Robinson's in goal. It's a back four of Maicon, Dawson, Lescott, and young Pio, with a midfield of Lennon, Zakora, Toure, and Gourcuff, with Keane and Berbatov in the front line. And the 2006-07 season, in real life, saw Spurs finish in 5th place. They actually had a big injury crisis. They had all the defenders out. I'm saying that this doesn't happen in this universe. Maybe they've got Champions League football, they've got some different players, maybe they had a different pre-season, whatever, but they did not have the injury crisis they did, and they had a much better time of it. And funnily enough, Spurs under Martin Jol get a reputation as one of the best teams to watch in the Premier League. They lined up in a 4-4-2, and they just had a lot of different weapons. They had Keane and Berbatov up front in real life, great partnership, maybe a little bit Son and Kane, who knows? They've got Zakora and Toure in the middle, which is just that's just engine room on toast, basically. Pace on the wings, they've got overlaps from fullback, they've got everything. They're a good team. They still have Paul Robinson in goal. You can't have everything.
Swings and roundabouts,
Exactly. They ended up finishing 3rd. They're definitely the best of the rest sort of team. Behind Chelsea finished 2nd, and Man United obviously finished 1st back in 06-07. Domestic cups didn't go great. They went out of them in the same way as they did in real life. They've got the semis against Arsenal and the quarters against Chelsea. But they did have a Champions League campaign to navigate. The group that they got put in was obviously the group that Arsenal would have had, which was Porto, CSK Moscow, and Hamburg, which they top. They draw PSV in the first knockout round, and they make it through that. This sets up a quarter-final tie with Liverpool
Hello.
which Spurs also win. So they're
Do
through the
they? Okay.
semi-final here in their first Champions League campaign, and it's a semi-final against Chelsea. What's interesting about this, obviously, is this should be this in real life is the Liverpool Milan Part 2 final, but Spurs
Jeez.
beat Liverpool in the quarters, and it sets up a semi-final appearance against Chelsea, which is obviously a huge game for Spurs. Champions League, Chelsea semi-final. Obviously, Chelsea win. It's that's easy.
There's not a bit around the bush.
Yeah, we're not being crazy. Joe Cole scores the only goal in the home leg at Stamford Bridge. Second leg finishes 0-0. Zakora and Robbie Keane both get sent off in quite a bad-tempered affair.
Brilliant.
But it sees Spurs go out, a little bit of extra colour as well. Does set up a Chelsea-Milan final, which was at the San Siro. And this is Jose Mourinho's Chelsea. It was at the San Siro. It's Jose Mourinho's Chelsea, former Internazionale man, at the San Siro against Milan. I mean, you can imagine that it's the sort of game that Jose wants to win. He's not got his Champions League with Chelsea yet either. And Chelsea just put on the most vintage Mourinho performance you could ever hope for. It's a 1-0 win for Chelsea after extra time. Ricardo Carvalho scoring in from a corner.
Here's a name I've not thought of at the time.
I loved Ricardo Carvalho.
Great centre-half.
And Chelsea hang on for Jose's Champions League win to bring home to West London. And it is actually, it's an iconic photo that gets taken of Mourinho, who can't help himself but to run past the AZ Milan fans, giving him the shushing signal. But obviously they've been abusing him all game. And he gave a little bit back. But listen, back to Spurs. They get to a Champions League semi-final. They finished third in the league. They finished above Arsenal for the second year in a row.
Year.
It is a good time to be a Spurs fan. Moving on, 2007-8 season. It's another big window for Spurs. They're looking to try and set their place in the Premier League as it is right now. Strengthen from a position of strength, and that is what they think they're doing. So in real life and in this tall tale, they're getting one Gareth Bale for $5 million out of Southampton, and Yunus Kabul as well. But the big star signing that they do make, Mido and Defoe actually leave the club this summer, so there's a vacancy at striker.
Okay.
And the person that they go for is a man who's just come off the back of a 34-goal season in 31 Eredivisie games for Heerenveen.
It's not.
It is a £20 million move for Brazilian striker Alfonso Alves. Middlesbrough cult villain Alfonso Alves is.
I was going to say that's a cracking knock-on effect for the borough. That's brilliant for them.
It is brilliant for them. It's brilliant for Heerenveen. It's brilliant for everyone. Because to be fair, a little bit of spoiler. Alfonso Alves does a little bit better in this season than he did in his first season in English football. But anyway,
much worse, could he?
He couldn't have done much worse. But things have kept going well for Martin Jol Spurs. He doesn't get sacked as he does in real life because Spurs have another great season. They finished top 4 again. And his team they're looking good. Alfonso Alves hits the ground running. They've got wingers of Adel Taarabt comes through the door. Him on one side, Johan Golkoof on the other.
The streets won't forget.
The streets will never forget. And that is just all aboard the showboat, really, when those two are on the pitch. And they finished third again, above Arsenal, who finished fourth again. A little bit of a meme starting to develop that Spurs now always finish above Arsenal. That's what the sort of Spurs fans are trying to peddle. Spurs fans adopting the phrase St. Arsenalington's Day, the day that Arsenal can no longer finish above Spurs. And that's not a meme that ever catches on. But
thank God for that, really.
League Cup, they do get to the final. Interestingly enough, they get to the final in real life. Jonathan Woodgate isn't playing to score them the winning goal. It's Lescott that started. So it goes to penalties. This is a game against Chelsea, this League Cup final. And Chelsea win the League Cup against Tottenham in the final. Avram Grant has a piece of silverware to his name, which is
one of his many masterclasses,
which is quite a scary prospect. But the FA Cup goes better in real life. In real life, they got knocked out by Man United in the 4th round, but in this tall tale, they do beat them. They go through to play Harry Redknapp's Portsmouth, who were, I believe, the eventual winners, but Tottenham beat them as well. That was in the quarters. They beat Man United in the 4th round. They beat Arsenal in the 5th round, further adding to the meme. And then they go on and beat the Harry Redknapp's Portsmouth. They got West Brom in the semis, I don't know if you remember the sort of semi-final lineup in real life. Yeah,
Barnsley, Cardiff, and West Brom, wasn't it?
yeah.
And then Portsmouth.
Well,
Jesus.
Spurs
And
beat.
Barnsley had beat like everyone that year as well. I swear
Yeah,
they knocked out like 4 like big teams, or 3 or 4 like big teams.
yeah.
Anyway,
It was
that's
one
just
of those
colour for
weird
Liverpool.
ones. Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely is. But there's no Barnsley in this one because Tottenham beat Portsmouth. They go on and beat West Brom in the semis, and it's Cardiff in the final, who they beat as well. It's an Alfonso Alves hat trick, which sees Martin Jol get an FA Cup under his belt at Tottenham. So,
Well done,
they're down
Marty.
a League Cup, they're up an FA Cup. You probably take it. They got to the final of the other
Yeah.
competition. And crucially, they've got another Champions League campaign to negotiate as well. Spurs get drawn into a group of Sevilla, Steaua Bucuresti, and Slavia Prague, which is another quite sort of Europa League group that they've got themselves.
Yeah,
But that's
it
who
really
that's
is,
who
yeah.
they get, which they top as well. Because they top the group, they go on to play Fenerbahce, which is why I'm rocking this delightful Fenerbahce number from a couple of years ago. And they beat Fenerbahce, sadly. And they move on to the quarterfinals against Chelsea, who, if you remember, knocked them out at the semi-final stage of the last campaign. They get their revenge on Chelsea this time round, and they do beat them. Sets up a semi-final against Liverpool, who they also beat. And it sets up a Champions League final, a fated All-Premier League final in 2007-8 against Manchester United. It should have been the Chelsea United final. It's the Chelsea. No, it's not. It's the Tottenham Man United final. Game goes to penalties, as it did. Ronaldo misses United's third penalty, as he did. Michael Dawson is Spurs' captain, who steps up to take his penalty.
He's got better studs than John Terry.
He's got better studs, and he slots
He's
in.
a better bloke.
He's a better bloke, and he has more progressive views on race, and he slots home his penalty. Unlike Terry, Dawson buries it, and it's Champions League glory for the Spurs. They win the Champions League. What a time to be a Spurs fan!
With this.
Listen, if you're a Spurs fan, you're in dreamland. It's a FA Cup Champions League double. Martin Jol's getting the bumps. Tarat and Gorku for hugging each other. Spurs fans are lining the streets in Moscow, I believe it was.
It was Moscow.
It's a cracking time to be from the Spurs side of North London. It's not a great time to be from the Arsenal side of North London. Arsenal are not happy with Arsenal's consistent underachievement since sort of 2003-04. If you sort of think of it this way, Arsenal only won their last league in 2004. We're in 2007-8, and they've just completely fallen off a cliff under Arsene Wenger, so it would seem. And they had an absolute early season poor spell of form, and they sacked Wenger in 2007.
Sacked, is he?
Wenger's sacked. Wenger out happened only about 10 years previously. Arsene, if you're wondering, Arsene Wenger goes off, he finds some international club to manage or something. Arsene Wenger is replaced by Alan Kirbishley, who doesn't do very well. He doesn't do very well, or indeed last very long.
They must have taken him off of West Ham there as well. And as far as I can remember, we had a very kind of mid-table kind of finish around 07-08. Didn't set the world on fire.
No, and if he was out of his depth at West Ham, which he potentially was, he was well out of his depth at Arsenal. But just to sort of round out the managerial coming and goings, Mourinho had also left Chelsea at the start of the year. He'd got his Champions League. He always loses the dressing room in his third season. It was time to go. And funnily enough, it's potentially something, a tall tale that we might touch on in the future, because when McLaren was sacked by England in January 2008, Mourinho was offered the England job, or at least purported to be heavily linked with it. And in this universe, he does succeed McLaren as England job. I'm sure that's something that we'll touch on in a later episode. Watch out for that.
Foreshadowing.
But that's where he goes. So, back to Spurs. We're into the 2008-9 season. Martin Jol sadly leaves the club. He gets poached by the Netherlands after they underperform at Euro 2008.
It's a good job for him.
It's a great job. I mean, he's going to take it. They sacked their manager in real life in Euro 2008, and I think if Martin Jol was where he was right now, I think they'd get him out of Tottenham. Jol also, he's just won the FA Cup and the Champions League with Tottenham. There's not really much else he can do for this club. And he's left Tottenham in a cracking place. At the start of the 08-09 season, Spurs are looking for a new boss, and they're queuing around the block for this job. In real life, it's Harry Redknapp who gets appointed. But, Spurs are Champions League winning team. Harry Redknapp doesn't even get the FA Cup, to his name, given that Tottenham knocked his Portsmouth side out of the semis, or the quarters, I believe it was. So he's nowhere near the job. If you're wondering, this whole sort of managerial saga goes on while Tottenham were playing at the 2008 Club World Cup.
Of course, yeah, that's the thing.
If you're wondering about the party in Ecuador that I mentioned, Tottenham did lose the Club World Cup final to Liga Deportiva Universitaria Quito, Ecuador.
Rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Well done.
I believe they just go by UCD Quito. They won the Copa Libertadores, which is an achievement in itself.
That's good, yeah. I feel like an Ecuadorian team winning the Copa Libertadores, the South American Champions League. I feel like that's a pretty good achievement.
It's big news. I will be wearing a UCD Quito top in the next Tall Tale.
Oh, what a good idea.
If I can find one.
If they sell.
But yes, so big party in Ecuador. But before the final of that competition, which Tottenham went on to bottle against UCD Quito, it was announced who would take over at Spurs. And that man was none other than Frank Rijkaard, manager of Barcelona, had just left to be succeeded by Guardiola. It makes sense,
I can see it.
Rijkaard was known for his attacking play. He's another Dutchman. Spurs fans are happy. You know what Spurs are like. They'd love to think that Rijkaard going to Tottenham from Barcelona would be like a sideways or upward step.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So they're very happy. Spurs were able to keep the majority of their squad together after winning the Champions League. Berbatov, Keane, Alves, Zakora, Torre, they were all at the club. But Rijkaard did make one notable addition. He brought in a Barcelona player that had been told by incoming manager Pep that he was not needed at the new camp. Ronaldinho is coming to White Hart Lane for 20 million Great British pounds. It's an absolute coup. I mean, Rijkaard wanted Ronaldinho pride of place in his starting 11, and he went for a very tasty 4-2-4 formation. It's an attacking quartet of Berbatov, Alves, Ronaldinho, and Keane. Which actually became known as the Bark front four. And on paper, it looks absolutely fantastic. As you can imagine, the season went extremely badly for Frank Rijkaard and his new team.
Of course it would.
Part of the problem was asking Dawson and Lescott to play on the halfway line with no protection in front of them in a 4-2-4 wasn't great. Asking Berbatov to press wasn't great. Asking Ronaldinho to pass the ball wasn't great. And it just all really sort of fell off a cliff. They went out of both domestic cups at early stages. They ended up finishing 8th, despite such... to be fair, it was not a bad finish considering they had such early season poor form. Saw them spend a lot of the season in the bottom half. Funnily enough, they still finished above Arsenal, who finished 10th. They got rid of Alan Kirbishley. They replaced him with Dick Advocat, who was another poor choice.
Of course. Because why wouldn't you?
Because why wouldn't they? But Ronaldinho did not inspire Tottenham to back-to-back Champions League finishes. Ronaldinho scored 1 goal in 32 appearances. And somewhat
Who was that goal against?
That goal was against, I'm going to say, plucking out the top of my head, I'm going to say Manchester City he scored against.
Okay. I rate that. A Robinho-Ronaldinho showdown, by the sounds of things.
Yeah, I imagine that between them, they both cumulatively ran
both scored in a 1-1 draw. We'll say that.
Yeah, and they both ran about 3 kilometres between them. But unsurprisingly, Rijkaard is sacked in mid-April. They got drubbed 4-0 by Everton, it was. Rijkaard does not last a full season at Tottenham, considering the fall-off from where he took them over to where he finished with them. Glenn Hoddle gets drafted in to steady the ship.
Okay.
And to be honest, this is sort of where everything goes downhill for Tottenham. If you're expecting a tall tale where Tottenham, they establish themselves as one of the dominant teams in England, it doesn't happen. Rijkaard gets replaced by Martin O'Neill, who completely fails to keep most of Tottenham's best
To
players.
be fair, he was doing well at Villa at the time, wasn't
He was doing well, but he could not command the respect of that particular dressing room. So Berbatov, Keane, Gourcuff, Lescott, Maicon, Dawson, Torre, and Asu Akoto all leave permanently to various top
he?
European and
Jesus.
Premier League clubs. Adel Taarabt goes to Real Madrid, as you might expect. Ronaldinho gets instantly loaned out to Lazio, never to play in England again. The only real sort of survivor is Alfonso Alves, but he stopped scoring. And Tottenham basically become a mid-table club. They swap managers most years. Arsenal actually get their sort of act together. They appoint Manuel Pellegrini. They become a competent team.
Okay.
And for the rest of the decade, they finish, or the next 10 years, they finish above Tottenham every single time. So that's sort of where, the Tottenham sort of arc more or less ends there. But what all this has been building up to is the 2010 World Cup, which I'm going to talk to you about now. That was the end of the 09-010 season. 010?
Old tight Sapui Shabalala, by the way. I
Never
will
forget.
mention that every time the 2010 World Cup comes up.
Bafana. So, 2010 World Cup is where this sort of chronological tale comes to an end. Give you a little recap. As I mentioned, Mourinho is at England. Martin Jol is at Netherlands. Obviously, 2010, Netherlands had a very good World Cup. And so did England. We actually beat Germany in the knockouts after Mourinho's pre-tournament mind games about the World Cup referees always giving decisions against England. The Lampard goal gets given against Germany, which, funnily enough, might well be another tall tale that we touch on.
Yeah, that'll come another time as well, I'm sure.
But England beat Germany in the knockouts. They go the first round, I should say. England go on to play Argentina, who are in real life currently managed by Scaloni, the guy that started the
the guy that gave the ball to Gerrard when we were 3-2 up.
Yeah, he also
never forgive him.
He also got the assist for Carragher's own goal, so swings and roundabouts.
He did. He bombed up and down that right flank.
He
did give the ball to Gerrard on a play, albeit about 147 yards out. But
England beat a Scaloni. Not Scaloni managed at the time, but anyway, England beat Argentina.
That was Maradona that year, wasn't it? Or was that 2014?
No, it was 20. Ooh, it might have been
one
Maradona.
of them was Maradona, where he had the vision of the player. That might have been 2014. I actually can't remember.
Anyway,
one of them.
England beat Argentina in the quarters, and it sets up an England semi-final against. Any ideas?
Semi-final. Who did Germany play in the semi-final? They played Spain.
I'll tell you who England played in their semi-final. Ivory Coast. While all this had been going on,
brilliant,
since 2007, the one and only Arsene Wenger had been working on a little separate project. He hadn't been able to secure any of the top European jobs. He went a little bit rogue, and he took on the Ivory Coast project. And the Ivory Coast at this time had a little cluster of excellence in the Premier League. Drogba, Kalou, Kolo Touré, Aboué were all players that...
Aboué snuck into that list.
Well, he played for Wenger at Arsenal. He was all right.
He wasn't bad, but I mean, next to Drogba and Yaya Touré.
Well, Yaya Touré and Dodgy Sakura were a Champions League winning engine room.
They were.
Under Wenger, Ivory Coast had a World Cup group of Brazil, Portugal, and North Korea, which they win that whole group. They beat Chile in the first knockout round, which sets up a quarterfinal tie against Martin Jol's Netherlands. Okay. Ivory Coast beat the Netherlands. There's no final appearance for Netherlands at this World Cup. I think it was this World Cup. And it is a Mourinho-Wenger World Cup semi-final, but it's England versus Ivory Coast. It's basically a Premier League All-Stars game as well. And let me tell you, when Wenger plays Mourinho in this England versus Ivory Coast matchup, it's Wenger who come out on top in that semi-final. We're talking about an Ivory Coast versus Spain final in Africa. Obviously, Ivory Coast win. Drogba loves a final, and it's absolute scenes when the first African team wins a World Cup. In Africa.
Love that.
If you're wondering about iconic photographs, there's an iconic image of South Africa Ivory Coast lifting the World Cup in South Africa with big Arsene Wenger at the helm. I mean, it's a world that I would love to have been a part of, and it all happened.
I say I wish I was. Tottenham won the Champions League, so I don't. But
I certainly wish I happened, and it all happened because in the Spurs canteen they were served salad rather than lasagna in May 2006, and that's how the tall tale
That's
concludes.
An absolute powerhouse of a tall tale. So many things to unpack. I love so much the fact that an African team won the African World Cup. And that was a great team. And me and you, one of the first things. How long have we known each other now? Like 5-6 years. Too long. One of the first things we bonded on was a mutual love of Didier Drogba.
Yeah, absolutely.
From two people that neither of us really have any. I can't stand Chelsea.
No.
But I love Didier Drogba, and so do you. And I'm so happy that I assume he scored the only goal.
Oh yeah, he scored the only goal in a 1-0 win.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I absolutely love that. That's brilliant. And I don't love the Tottenham arc, but West Ham won their 4th FA Cup, so
West Ham got an FA Cup. The
Tottenham
Tottenham
giveth, and you taketh away in your tall tales.
And at least the Tottenham journey of success had a definitive end.
And I don't want to say
a crashing note.
I don't want to say that this podcast is anti-Tottenham, in case any Tottenham fans listen, but this podcast will. There's certain teams, Sheffield United, Tottenham, Leeds, Chelsea, that probably won't get as much love as other teams might.
Maybe.
But listen, we can all come together as friends if Ivory Coast win the World Cup. So who gives a shit, really?
Well, that's what would have happened in my version of events, which I think, we'd like to sort of think about whether it was a better sort of reality to live in or a worse one. For you, it's debatable because Tottenham did well. For me, it's absolutely no-brainer. I would have loved to.
For me, I'd probably take it because as much as Tottenham win the Champions, if you gave me like Tottenham win the Champions League but West Ham win the FA Cup, I'd take it.
Yeah.
Because the only trophy I've ever seen us win is a playoff final. So,
well,
I'd probably take that. But
yes.
Anyway,
I want to hear what you think would have happened if on May 2006 Arsenal had been served salad. I want to hear it.
I'll take you through it. I'll take you through what would have happened, mate. I'm gonna refer to my Word document as I always do, and I'm gonna start the clock. So Warren, let me tease for you. This is how Tottenham Hotspur being served salad in May 2006 leads to one of the greatest periods in the club's history.
Okay.
Leads to trophies in North London, trophies in East London. Jason Roberts writing himself into the history books.
Now there's a name.
And actually, I was about to skip one. The revival of the career of Eduardo da Silva, that comes up.
Oh,
also the collapse of a bank. See what happens there.
A bank.
I'd also like to touch on first that, this whole tall tale is essentially null and void because the Health Protection Agency did tests and they just had the flu. There was nothing to do with lasagna. But let's pretend that the lasagna was the problem, just for a sweet second there. The Tottenham squad, they wake up refreshed and ready to go in the 5-star Marriott Hotel in Canary Wharf.
Very
They've
nice.
been staying. The salad went down a treat. It was very much not poisoned. I've taken the liberty to look at a recent review on booking.com of said hotel. And a man named Paul remarked that the room was very comfortable, and I'm quoting here, the room was very comfortable and clean and well equipped, including a chaise lounge. We had a lovely view of the dock and the boat's moored there.
It's an early appearance for Paul in the Football Playing How to Change It podcast.
I don't think anyone expected that. But Paul has helped paint an image in our minds. You can imagine that Lee Young-Pyo was comforted by the docks in the morning and not unwell. And Edgar Davids was pleasantly surprised by the inclusion of a chaise longue in the room and not unwell. They both started the game at Upton Park later that day. So there's, I guess, a bit of an eerie mood, but that makes sense. It's a big day. And also maybe, it feels like there's a plot twist missing in the morning. But Martin Yole's helped himself to the continental breakfast. Chris Hughton's having a cup of tea. There's no real distractions. Everyone's had a good night rest. So they just make the short hop over to Upton Park. No bother, really. But this is a big game. And you've set the scene absolutely lovely. But for 3 teams involved, I'd say, you've got Tottenham, obviously, as you've said, opportunity to come above Arsenal. You've got West Ham. They would love to stop Tottenham getting that. And let me tell you, in real life, we did. But we would love to stop Tottenham getting Champions League. And Arsenal don't want to finish below Tottenham. But what you also have to remember is this is their last ever game at Highbury that they're playing today as well, at home to Wigan Athletic. And they've got a Champions League final coming up 10 days later.
So they do.
In Paris. But anyway, that's enough preamble. We're going to move past that. Both North London teams come out firing. So in real life, as it happened in real life, Arsenal take an 8th minute lead over Wigan through Robert Pires. But just seconds later in this universe, Tottenham come out firing as well. They're fit and raring to go. And naturally, as always happens, an ex-West Ham player has come to West Ham and scored.
Yep.
It's Michael Carrick, who scores literally within seconds of the Robert Pires goal at Upton Park, who he was one of the more poison players in real life. And I think he come off on the hour for Andy Reid, of all players.
Ooh. What, the guy that was at Forest?
Yes.
He's got a left foot.
Yeah, a wand of a left foot. But Michael Carrick's fit and raring to go. And he, like I say, fulfills the role of every ex-West Ham player coming to Upton Park and scoring. So that kind of quelled the initial hope that there might have been at Highbury straight away. And that got even worse 2 minutes later when Paul Sharner went and scored an equaliser, which again happened in real life. And it got even worse on 33 minutes when David Thompson, and I'll tell you, I couldn't pick him out of a lineup, to be fair, but he scored on 33 minutes and Wigan are 2-1 up at Highbury.
Goodness.
In real life, a knackered Spurs team were losing at this point, but not here, not this universe. They've come out firing, and once again, as you've touched on, and it happened in your story, the other ex-West Ham player has come to Upton Park and scored. Jermaine Defoe in front of the Bobby Moore lower. On his first return to Upton Park since he left in disgrace about just over a year earlier, where, by the way, I'd like to just get this out there, he was sent off 3 times in 4 months before he left West Ham.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
He got relegated, sent in a transfer request, and got sent off 3 times. I can't stand the man. Of course he's going to score in front of the Bobby Moore lower.
Great striker.
2-0 to Tottenham. He's a great striker, but we skirt past that. 2-0 to Tottenham, 2-1 to Wigan. Surely this is game, set, and match. Done. But what a few people maybe forget is West Ham had a few ex-Spurs players in their team as well. Etherington was ex-Spurs, Zamora was ex-Spurs. We've got a fair few ourselves. And the roles reversed on a stroke of half-time. Bobby Zamora, as I've just mentioned there, ex-Tottenham player, pulls one back in first half injury time. But Arsenal was still trailing. So the second half, both Arsenal and West Ham are 2-1 down, but both teams are pushing. Wigan, at this point as well, just a bit for colour for the report, the way results going, will actually leapfrog West Ham in the table into 9.
Really? That's an interesting detail. Yeah.
Nice little bit of colour for the report there, I think. Yeah. But again, Tottenham look strong still. They're not knackered. Like I say, they haven't had to hook off Michael Carrick on the hour. They look full of energy, really. This is such a big game for them. And they're holding on quite comfortably. Or are they? Playing for places is a thing. And as I've mentioned, West Ham had a cup final the week after.
Yeah.
And Hayden Mullins, West Ham's number 17, reason number 1, why I'm wearing number 17 on my shirt.
Oh, very nice.
He's suspended. He got sent off for having a scrap with Luis Garcia the week before. Playing in this place is Carl Fletcher. He receives the ball from Lionel Scaloni, current Argentinian national team manager. Reason number 2 why I'm wearing this Argentina shirt.
It's a twofer.
It's a twofer. Wait a minute. We might have a threefer coming here.
Don't go to bed just yet.
Don't go to bed, DG. He lays a beautiful ball down the channel for Marlon Harewood to run onto.
Ooh.
Tight angle as a shot, gets a good shot away, parried by Paul Robinson into the path of an onrushing, like a raging buffalo, Carl Fletcher, who smashes it home, twats it, 2-2. West Ham have come from 2 goals down to draw. Similarly, again, the last reason why I've got this shirt, it's a threefer. On the back of it, because for some reason I've got it half price because his name was on the back, is Manuel Lanzini, who some people might remember a couple of weeks ago. Scored a pretty delightful equaliser in the 95th minute after West Ham had been 3-0 down. But I just wanted to...
Against Spurs, no less.
Against Tottenham. So those are my 3. That's the threefer. But it's 2-2. And in, again, a bit like earlier in the game, within seconds of that goal going in, there's another breakthrough at Highbury.
Oh!
Within seconds of that Fletcher goal, corner gets whipped in at Highbury. Gilberto Silva gets his head on it. Mike Pollitt makes the save, but it falls at the foot of Dennis Bergkamp in his last competitive game for Arsenal.
Yeah, of course.
2-2.
Yeah.
Highbury's a frenzy. They've heard the full-time whistle's gone. Chris Foy's blown up at Upton Park. Arsenal are still playing. One more goal now. Goal difference. Arsenal are in the Champions League. And Arsenal have got one more corner. Fabregas whips it in, meets the head of Thierry Henry. And it's cleared off the line by young Leighton Baines, of all people.
Wow.
Now, what you've got to know is this is last minute. Jens Lehmann's up for the corner. And he's tearing back. And Emmanuel Abue, I've already given a little bit of shit today, loses the ball on the halfway line to Pascal Chimbonda, who starts running towards Jens Lehmann, who's tearing back towards his goal. Abue's chasing Chimbonda, but he can't get to him. It's 1-on-1. Chimbonda knocks the ball past Lehmann, and he brings him down. It's 2-2, but Wigan have got a penalty.
At the wrong end.
And Uriah Rennie, Lehmann's already walking.
Oh, yeah.
It's a red card. Lehmann's gone. Wigan have got a penalty in the last minute. Kolo Touré's given the gloves because Arsenal have already made all 3 subs. And there's a sombre mood that takes over Highbury.
Yeah.
Jason Roberts steps up. The last goal at Highbury will not be a Thierry Henry penalty, but a Jason Roberts penalty to make it 3-2 to Wigan, full time. And for the first time since 1995, St Tottenham's Day is cancelled.
Wow.
Tottenham have got the Champions League, but so have Arsenal. Now, you might remember the Champions League final, which is 10 days later, against Barcelona. 13 minutes in, Jens Lehmann comes rushing out of his goal and gets sent off for hacking down Samuel Eto'o.
Oh.
In this universe, the ball gets sent over. Obviously, Lehmann's not suspended because it's only domestic competitions he'd be suspended.
Yeah.
He's in 2 minds to go out when Eto'o's been sent through because he's like, well, I got sent off last week, so do I come out again? You know, he hesitates a little bit. Eto'o's running down on him. But when Eto'o has a shot, Lehmann's equal to it, saves it.
Stays big.
So he stays big, still 11v11, and Arsenal are not a goal down.
Wow.
So when Sol Campbell scores after 37 minutes, which still happens, it's 11v11. Yeah. And Arsenal have got a chance in their last year at Highbury to win the Champions League. That's motivation enough. Twist of fate is 10 days later, and Arsenal are clinging on 1-0. Barcelona this time get the corner at the death. And Ronaldinho, mentioned in your talk tale, whips it in, and Lehmann comes to punch.
Oh, Jens.
And it's a big punch. And who's onto it? Thierry Henry, Arsenal legend. Victor Valdez was up for the corner.
Oh,
there's no one between him and the goal. And at the Stade de France, Thierry Henry has got the whole stadium to himself. 25, 30 yards out, rolls it in. 2-0 to Arsenal. Their first Champions League ever. In their last season at Highbury, in France, with Henry getting the winner. Wenger managing the team.
Poignant.
And like Liverpool the year before, an English team qualified for the Champions League, courtesy of winning the whole thing. I don't know, but I feel like Arsenal fans would have taken that over Lasagne Gate.
Yeah, because they get the same benefit of Champions League.
Exactly, they still get the Champions League,
and I think
but they win it.
The 2007, I'm not an Arsenal fan, but I think the 2007 Champions League fan is a real... it's quite a what-if moment for Arsenal fans.
That's a bitter one. Yeah. If Lehmann don't get sent off, which is another one that we could do at another time.
Could easily do. But we're doing it here.
It's definitely come in here. But yeah, all this leads to Season 2, 2006-07 now. Tottenham come into the Champions League at the third qualifying stage. It's a Mido masterclass at White Hart Lane as they beat Dynamo Zagreb over 2 legs. Arsenal, though, had to come through 3 qualifying rounds. Now, this does mean a couple of things. Firstly, the first competitive game at the Emirates Stadium is not against Aston Villa.
No.
It's against Luxembourgian outfit F91 Dudelange. I think I'm saying that right. And that also means that the first competitive goal at the Emirates was not scored by Olaf Melberg, but Jeremy Aliadier in a 5-0.
Very nice.
Oh, very nice. So they beat them. They beat Hungarian team Debrecen in the next game. But then they come to the third qualifying round against Lille. A return to France, first time since the final. They win the first leg 2-1 at the Emirates. But then they return to northern France. And a Claude Puel managed Lille.
Yeah, it was.
Apparently. Score a 1-0 victory over Arsenal, with the only goal being scored by Peter Odemwingie. Lille go through on away goals. Arsenal get sent crashing out.
Wow.
And into the UEFA Cup qualifying stages, where they get into the group stages, pretty normally.
Yeah.
If you're wondering, the team they have essentially erased from existence there, is North Macedonian side FK Rabotnicki. So if there are any FK Rabotnicki fans, I do apologise.
If there are,
again, much like you were trying to find a Keto shirt, I'll find a FK Rabotnicki top and wear that next week.
That's what I was going to say. And I thought Fenerbahce in Argentina were niche enough.
Next week's going to go to a new level. But so this puts them in the UEFA Cup in a group with AZ Alkmaar, Sevilla, Braga, and Slovan Liberec. If you're wondering, they come second in that group behind Sevilla, who also beat them in the Super Cup because Sevilla won the UEFA Cup year before. So excellent. Sevilla go and beat Arsenal in the Super Cup. Just a bit of colour there. But league-wise, Arsenal get off to a bit of a tough start. Slow start. It's teething problems in the new ground. Olympic Stadium-esque teething problems in the new ground. They're not really acclimatising to it. And it takes until early December where the tide turns. The first North London derby at the new Emirates. And that one's fated. It's a 3-0 win for Arsenal. 1 goal from Emmanuel Adebayor, who's looking like a pretty promising striker at this point, and 2 Gilberto Silva penalties.
Very nice.
But how are Tottenham doing? To this point, they've had a good start to the league. They're sitting in 4th before the Arsenal game. They've got Berbatov, and he's flying. Great footballer. One of the few Tottenham footballers that I really liked.
He's up there for me.
Rolls Royce of a footballer.
Yeah.
They're still in the League Cup where they actually got drawn against Arsenal in the semis. And as they did in your tall tale, they've topped their Champions League group above Porto, CSKA and Hamburg. But December and January are a little bit rocky for Tottenham until that League Cup semi, which comes in January against Arsenal. And it's another turning point. Pardon me, I've just burped. 2-2 draw at White Hart Lane.
Ooh, okay.
But then it comes to the Emirates.
Yeah.
1-1 after normal time. So it goes to extra time. And this happened in real life, but Arsenal went on and won 3-1 in extra time. This time it's the other way round at the Emirates, which must be pretty sweet for Tottenham fans.
Yeah.
Robbie Keane nets early in extra time. And a real bogeyman for Arsenal at this point. You may remember he won the penalty for Wigan at the end of last season. Pascal Chimbonda.
There he is.
New Tottenham signing. Scores at the right end this time. He scored an own goal in real life. And Tottenham win 3-1. And they lose comfortably at Chelsea in the final. Of course they do. And they also knocked Tottenham out of the FA Cup in the 5th round. But, they get to a League Cup final a year earlier than they did in real life. So that's good. And Europe also sees Tottenham get to a quarter final. Like you say, they beat PSV. But comfortably they lose to Liverpool over 2 legs. I think it's 5-1 over 2 legs.
Damn.
So there's still a real gap, and it's really starting to look like there's a top 3, which is obviously Liverpool, Man United, and Chelsea, and then there's everyone else. Arsenal are kind of being cut adrift at this point. They went on a bit of a run in Europe, to be fair, Arsenal. They managed to get to the final of the Europa League, where they actually played Fenerbahce in that run as well, so there's another little shout-out to your top.
Oh, excellent stuff.
But they meet Sevilla again, who beat them in the groups.
Ooh.
And beat them in the Super Cup final, and now they're playing them again in the UEFA Cup final. And while this tall tale is a little bit strange, Sevilla do not lose in the UEFA Cup or the Europa League.
Let's not go crazy.
And in keeping to the theme of, ex-players coming back, it's ex-Tottenham player Freddie Canute and ex-West Ham player Freddie Canute, who scores a brace, and a Danny Elvis screamer who's still at Sevilla at the time.
Oh, and he was capable.
And Sevilla win 3-1. It's a late consolation goal in what would prove to be Thierry Henry's last goal for the club.
Oh.
And then he goes to Barcelona.
Yeah.
So Tottenham finished 4th that season. They coast into that position a lot easier than they did the year before. So you go into the next season. It was a bit of a down year for Tottenham. They finished 7th in the league. But given the fact they've got Champions League football, they still acquire well. And they beat Tottenham, actually. They beat Arsenal, to the signing of a hot prospect from Dinamo Zagreb, Eduardo da Silva. And he hits the ground running. He was highly sought after that summer. Arsenal obviously got him. But he forms a cracking partnership with Dimitar Berbatov. Robbie Keane, I'm assuming, is phased out.
Yeah.
And the knock-on impacts of this as well, I'd like to add, are there's much less British publicity for Roman Pavlyuchenko, who never makes it to England, failing a short spell where he signs for Hull on a free in 2017 under Leonid Slutsky. And he scores 1 goal away at Barnsley in a 1-1 draw.
Leonard Slutsky's snuck in at this episode.
Fun fact about Slutsky: I've got a Slutsky fact from Wikipedia. That was tough to say. We've had a couple of beers. His playing career with FC Zvezda Gorodice ended at the age of just 19. And he had to retire from football after a knee injury that was sustained after falling out of a tree while trying to rescue his neighbour's cat. Thank you to Wikipedia for that one.
It's a noble sacrifice.
It is a notable sacrifice. But anyway, Arsenal had in real life, they had a title charge that season, but not in this one.
No.
The UEFA Cup defeat and UEFA Cup football has spelled decline. Fabregas has already gone at Barcelona. Adebayor starting to build some kind of career. He's gone to AC Milan. And the slow decline for Wenger comes a lot quicker in this world. They still have the 6-2 defeat to Tottenham in the League Cup semi-finals with the 5-1 defeat at White Hart Lane, which actually makes sense in this universe. They go out early in the FA Cup. UEFA Cup dumps them out at the round of 16, which I'd like to just mention. The player that scored there It was a 3-0 defeat at the Estadio da Luz against Benfica, with 2 goals from the best striker I've ever played with on FIFA, Oscar Cardozo. So,
what a
pretty
player.
good. Arsenal end up finishing 5th, so they do actually come above Tottenham, but for some reason it still feels like you'd prefer to be a Tottenham fan. And that means Everton actually pip them to 4th place that year.
Oh, really?
And the joke starts to become that Arsenal always come 5th. That's 3 years in a row now that Arsenal have come 5th. So it's never the Arsenal come 4th joke, it's the Arsenal come 5th joke. But at Tottenham, we're going back to Tottenham now. Eduardo fulfills the potential that he was believed to have, helped by the fact that he wasn't on the end of an absolute career-ending tackle by Martin Taylor at Birmingham.
I was wondering if his leg would remain in one piece.
His leg does remain not out of his skin, so that's good. Tottenham, they lose early in the FA Cup, but in the Champions League, they get to the quarterfinals again. They beat AC Milan in the round of 16 with a Berbatov goal at the San Siro in a 1-0 win. The home leg sees Adebayor return. Obviously, ex-Arsenal player. He returns with a goal. But Eduardo scores a brace, and it's a famous night for Tottenham Hotspur. They once again draw Liverpool in the quarters. But it's a bit closer this time, but they still get knocked out. But they're getting closer. It's a 1-0 in each leg. First leg, Torres gets the goal. Second leg, Yossi Benayoun, who scored the goal that knocked him out of the Champions League in real life. Well, he stopped him from getting to the Champions League. One of my favourite goals of all time. But you may remember that this year in real life, Tottenham actually won the League Cup. And that still happens. Eduardo and Steed Malbranck get the goals, I've decided, simply because I wanted to get Steed Malbranck in there. And finally, Tottenham, in beating Chelsea, have beaten one of the big 3. It was something that really was proving to be a bit of a problem. Obviously, Liverpool knocking them out of the Champions League quite a lot. And they've got their first trophy since the 1999 Worthington Cup. And the journey at this point begins. And I've got 10 minutes to take you through that journey. So call me mental. It's a good thing that I'm getting to this bit. I'm now going to go from 2008 to May 2014 in quite a short space of time.
Fair enough.
Arsenal aren't even worth mentioning in this point. I'm going to completely drop them out here. They have a few Europa League campaigns. They get to a couple of top 7 finishes and a couple of, cup semi-finals. But there's a real drought. It's a real decline for Arsenal. Key players leave for Champions League football on regular intervals. And on the fateful day, which I'm just going to foreshadow there, just tease, Arsenal have wrapped up another 7th place finish. And it's a solitary Jay Rodriguez goal that's enough to beat West Brom at the Emirates.
For Arsenal.
But let's go back to Tottenham. Tottenham have had some crazy years as I was teeing up. So it was the breakaway top 3. And Tottenham were the only team to really threaten that. And in 2008-09, they make their 3rd straight League Cup final, as they did in real life, and they play Man United on penalties. But this time they win on penalties. So that's 3 League Cup finals in 2 years. 3 League Cup finals in 3 years. It'd be tough if they made it to 3 in 2 years.
That would be
And
impressive.
they've won the last 2.
Yeah.
2009-10 now. We're moving on a season. And they return to the top 4. So they've been 5th the season before, just outside. Now they're back into the top 4. Do you remember that win at Man City, where it was them or Man City to get to the to the Champions League, and they went to the City of Manchester Stadium, and it was a Peter Crouch goal.
Yeah, I do.
That made them win 1-0. The same thing happens that season, but the goal is scored by Edin Dzeko. Why is he doing there? Dimitar Berbatov at Tottenham, yeah, not Man City. Dimitar Berbatov got a move to Inter Milan because he'd been doing so well, and he managed to pick himself a Champions League winning medal.
Very nice. Well deserved.
That year. So that's really nice.
Yeah.
And from that money that they got from Inter Milan, they go and get Edin Dzeko from Wolfsburg.
Another good striker.
Exactly. We move on another year, 2010-11. Tottenham make it to the Champions League quarterfinals before defeat to Real Madrid, but they secure another 4th place finish.
Ooh.
The climb is beginning for Tottenham.
Ooh.
The next season, 2011-12, Tottenham pit Liverpool, who never had their meltdown, to 3rd place, finally breaking the big 3 domination. City win the league. Chelsea are out the top 4, but they win the Champions League final. You might remember they did this and Tottenham finished 4th. And it knocked Tottenham out the Champions League the next year, because that's what the rules were at the time. But now Tottenham are 3rd. It's Liverpool that have Champions League football taken from them. Tottenham remain in the Champions League. And while we're at it, the FA Cup, Tottenham go and win that as well. Beating of all teams, Liverpool in the final. And just again, a bit of a colour to the report.
Yeah.
Gareth Bale doesn't ever hit the heights he did in real life, but he does put in a man of the match performance in that final, a goal and an assist. And Tottenham have now won an FA Cup to go with their 2 League Cups. One more year, 2012-13. They're up to second now behind Man United. Sir Alex was never going to give it up in his final year.
No.
But there was some disappointment in the Champions League. They went out in a weak group behind Schalke and Olympiacos and drop into the Europa League. But this gives them another cup as they drop into the Europa League. They beat Levante, they beat Rubin Kazan, Chelsea in the quarterfinals in a famous night, and then Basel, leading them to a final against Benfica, who you may know are cursed in European
Very
club
much
finals.
so. Yeah.
And it comes out in maybe the cruelest way in this universe. They lead 2-0 at half-time in the Europa League final, only for Tottenham to stage a dramatic comeback. A 94th minute winner from Willian, who joined Tottenham the summer before. A year before Chelsea gave him a reason to shaft Tottenham, he scores a hat-trick, including a 94th minute winner, giving Tottenham a 3-2 win and the Europa League. And you might think this sounds like a similar kind of game. The Europa League final that year was played at the Amsterdam Arena, the Johan Cruyff Arena, I should say, in Amsterdam. So their famous night in the Dutch capital came then in 2013. And the hat-trick by a Brazilian winger was Willian.
Now that is
not
neat.
Lucas Moura.
That is neatly done.
That.
Yeah,
I
well
like
done.
that. But now we move on to the next season. So Tottenham have now got 2 League Cups, an FA Cup, and Europa League, and finished as high as second in the Premier League, moving into 2013-14. And the 2 runaway best teams in this league now are Tottenham and Manchester City. And with 2 games left in the season for Tottenham, City have got a game in hand. Tottenham lead City by 4 points.
Ooh.
City have the game in hand on a winnable running. They win at Everton to bring it back to 1 point.
Right.
On the evening of the 3rd of May, where the Tottenham team meet at a hotel in East London before their penultimate game of the season, away at West Ham United. They sit down for their dinner at the hotel. And what's on the menu tonight?
What are they served?
It's lasagna.
Oh, no.
It's lasagna. But where have West Ham been? I'm going to have to fly through this because I'm running out of time. West Ham have been everywhere. So you go all the way back to 2006-07. Wigan's last day win at Highbury actually draws a bit more attention. And they signed a couple of players that summer, one of which being Preston North End striker David Nugent. And he's not a game changer, but he had a great season at Preston the year before in the Championship. And it's enough to get him about 5 or 6 points over the course of that season. So what does that mean? Come the final game of the season, when Tevez scores at Old Trafford, West Ham need to win to stay up. That would be fine as long as Sheffield United don't win against Wigan, which obviously they didn't in real life and it sent them down. In this universe, Wigan have got nothing to play for. Sheffield United stroll to a 3-0 win. Wigan are already on the beach, and West Ham go down to the Championship. Strangely enough, there's no real inquest about the Tevez thing at that point. So
funny that,
because of course there isn't. And West Ham lose the next year to Hull City in the playoff semi-finals.
Oh, I know how that feels.
Yeah, I know. The next season promises a lot under Alan Kirbishley. He gets another mention, in one episode.
No, that is far too many.
Highly fancied until their sponsor, XL Airways, goes bankrupt, which really happened. And the Icelandic owners that currently run the club are at the centre of the 2008 Icelandic financial crisis. And suddenly, West Ham are part of a fire sale. The fact that West Ham are no longer a Premier League team really does not help to save the banks in Iceland.
No.
And West Ham suddenly are penniless. And they don't go up as champions, but they get relegated again to League One.
West Ham.
The next season starts with a points deduction, 10 points deducted due to financial issues. No buys imminent. In a positive piece of news, even Gold, Sullivan and Brady won't touch us with a
I was about to ask.
Yeah, so... but for League One, we managed to attract some decent quality players and we end up finishing the lower end of mid-table.
Oh, impressive.
Exactly. But 2010-11 finally brings some good news for the club. An overseas consortium completes a takeover of the club and hopes begin of a promotion campaign. And they sneak into the playoffs ahead of Bournemouth, Leyton Orient and Exeter City. West Ham win the first leg of the semi-final away at Huddersfield, 1-0 win, before coming back to Upton Park. And it looked like it was going to extra time. A Jordan Rhodes goal on the night, 1-1 aggregate.
For West Ham?
For Huddersfield.
Oh, for
Huddersfield.
Oh.
He's still at Huddersfield at the time. Well, I say he's still at Huddersfield at the time. So I just remember what's coming. A late goal from Kyle Reid, of all people. That will mean nothing to many people. But he scores a late goal to send West Ham and Upton Park into raptures. And they go into the final at Old Trafford, where the playoff
Yeah.
finals were that year, against Peterborough, where we'd
Yeah.
been relegated only 4 years earlier, and we get promoted to the Championship.
Oh.
Goals coming from ex-Peterborough striker Craig McHale-Smith, who we were heavily linked with anyway, and
No, he was a baller.
fittingly, a Mark Noble penalty, who stayed with us because, of course, he did.
What a boy.
The next season is back-to-back promotions. Instead of being the favourites, we're the underdogs when we go into the playoff final against Blackpool at Wembley, and it's fated again. It's a 2-1 win. The first goal coming from new big money signing Jordan Rhodes from Huddersfield, and of all places, the second one coming from Tottenham loanee Andros Townsend. A 2-1 win, and after 5 whirlwind years, West Ham are back in the Premier League. The next season, it's mid-table mediocrity. We're fine. We solidify ourselves in 2012-13. 2013-14 is a tougher year, but by the penultimate game of the season, when we've got Tottenham, we're safe. We're fine. The highlights from the season have actually been 2 wins over Tottenham, a 3-0 win away in the league at White Hart Lane, and a 2-1 win in the League Cup at White Hart Lane as well. Both fated. West Ham won 3 times over Tottenham that year, and that was fated, as was Lasagne. 4th of May 2014, the Tottenham squad wake up, and to a man, they've got Lasagne exploding out of all kinds of orifices, all ends of their bodies. Daniel Levy, in true style, blames those pesky West Ham fans. The chef was an Arsenal fan, he was a West Ham fan, or some bollocks, whatever Daniel Levy's on this time. Spurs, he's asking for the game to be postponed, but the game is played, and Tottenham fall to a fated 2-0 defeat at Upton Park. The 2 goals, as was on the day, a Harry Kane own goal, and instead of being at the start of his career, he comes back, and at the end of his career, it's Yossi Benayoun that puts the seal on it. A 2-0 win. The man who ended their dreams in 2006. One of my favourite goals of all time. He's done it again. Wow. City win their game in hand, and City win the league. Ironically, beating West Ham on the final day of the season. That is how Tottenham bottled the title in 2013-14. A period of tremendous success at White Hart Lane. Many a trophy parade down the Seven Sisters Road. But do they ever get over that Premier League hump? And on exactly half an hour, I'll let the folks at home decide. I've said folks wrong. I said folks, but the folks at home will decide.
Wow.
And that is the end of my tall tale.
What a tall tale it was.
A lengthy one.
I enjoyed every second. The symmetry that you achieved with...
There was a lot of symmetry. I was happy with the symmetry I got this time.
It was like a work of Renaissance art. I don't know if they're symmetrical, but it was very pretty. I really enjoyed it. There must be
some Renaissance art that is pretty perfectly symmetrical. They've got to put something in them art galleries.
The tall tale that you just expunged was artistic, in my opinion. I love the fact that I had a sneaking suspicion that West Ham would come back to bite Tottenham at some point, but I didn't think that West Ham would take the road that they took. Go. No,
I couldn't let that go. Especially, I think Tottenham did win 2-0. So, given they're going to win the league this year, I had to kind of take every small victory I can get in the minute, and it had to be somehow West Ham breaking Tottenham hearts. And I feel like I achieved that whilst also giving Tottenham some due credit. They won a lot. They won a lot of titles over them years.
Absolutely. Well, in terms of your tall tale versus real life, where would you? What would you take, do you reckon? Because Tottenham won a lot of trophies in your tall tale.
I mean, yeah, I would take real life because West Ham went down to League One and back.
It's not a pretty place to be.
I don't ever want to have a time where I've got Jordan Rhodes and Craig McCall. You know how difficult it is to support a team with Jordan Rhodes leading the line.
That's why I prefer your tall tale to real life because
you don't get Jordan Rhodes.
We never get Jordan Rhodes, exactly.
Well, to be fair, you didn't sign him until about 2017, so there's plenty of time, you know.
Oh, God.
It's about 3 years left, yeah. Maybe the folks home decide Jordan Rhodes ends up at Hillsborough and is a success. Who knows?
We don't know, but what I do know is that was an excellent tall tale to round off episode 2.
An excellent episode.
I hope that people enjoy it. I hope people watch it again. Obviously, episode 1 is out right now. If you're on this video, just go find the other one. Well, at some point we'll put a playlist together.
We'll put some links. Yeah,
we'll put some links. Do just want to say a final thank you to Mr. Matthew Lovett for being an extremely good help for a man that knows nothing about football.
Cracking work.
He's done God's work.
Very little. But he knows a lot, but not about the subject matter.
Yeah, exactly. And I know a lot about football and not a lot about anything else. So, as a team, I think we work well. But that was episode 2. Feel free to leave some comments about what you think, any questions or suggestions or anything else. Absolutely. Got a Twitter account. Follow that, Football Fate Pod. But I think I've got nothing else to say on this matter. There'll be another episode out shortly, will there not, Tim?
Yeah, but we'll get around to it. I'm sure we'll find a way to do it.
You will figure it out. Don't know what
But,
it'll be on. But
no, we haven't
it's
decided
something
that yet. But I'm
interesting.
sure that'll be decided in due time. Until then, though, thank you ever so much for listening, as always. And this has been the Football Fate and How to Change It podcast. I assume you have nothing to add, Frog?
I don't have anything to add.
Brilliant.
I'm
going to wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. You wrap it up.
Thank you for listening. And as always, stay lucky.
Bye-bye.